Hello and welcome to the Unbreakable Soul. I'm Crystal Rome, and today we have a guest who we've been friends for quite a while now, and I'm really excited to have him on the show. And this guy does it all. He is a filmmaker, music producer, he's a fitness enthusiast, and he has so many great things to share with you today to talk about how to build the life you love. We all go through life, and sometimes we feel like we're not living our best life, but you have a lot of advice. You've been through so many things, and you're going to share a lot of tips and things that are going to help everybody today. So without further ado, let's introduce our amazing guest, Marcel Patillo.
Oh, thank you, Crystal.
Woo!
God, we need to get like a fake applause button.
We do.
Just
We do.
like,
We do.
applause
Yay!
sound. Awesome. It's great to be here.
Yeah, this is funny that you're on my podcast show here because we've known each other for years, haven't we?
So long.
We met in Cali.
I think I was
with
probably
my husband.
25, so that had to have been 7 years ago, maybe.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been in Nashville about 7 years now. And we met doing music.
That's right.
It's pretty cool.
It is cool. It is cool. I was doing a lot of producing back then, and
Yep.
and you guys, I had just moved to Los Angeles to follow my production dreams.
That's right.
And you were one of the first clients I ever had out there.
That's so funny. And I never knew that back then.
Yeah.
But you are extremely talented at music.
Thank you.
But you are doing so much more now. So, yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about your family, too. So, your mother, Jackie Patillo, is head of the GMAs.
Yeah.
And I love her. She's an amazing woman.
Jackie is awesome.
Yes. And then Leon Patillo is your father,
Yeah.
who actually played with Santana, the group
did.
Santana. So having a dad that played with Santana, that's pretty cool.
It's so crazy. It's still like surreal sometimes just to like always have that in my back pocket.
Yeah. Just in case.
It's just weird knowing, growing up with one of those things that, if you tell just about anyone, they'll be like, what? Really? That's crazy. Especially because I'm here in, Tennessee. I pretty much grew up here. So, not being in California, I think, and being, far away from him, I think a lot of people were always just like, what? Wow, would have never expected.
And it doesn't stop there. So your brother, Gabe Patillo, he has been with Toby Mac for years. Started with DC Talk as a dancer, right?
Yes. Back then, DC Talk had this thing called Cookie and Cream. So they actually hired two little boys that were both 10. One was black, my brother, and one was white. Just by chance, I guess, they both happened to have birthdays on the same exact day. So they were the same exact age, born the same day, Cookie and Cream, and they took them out on tour. And I think at the time, I don't know if they still have this, but they had DC Dance Factory. And it was a place where kids could go learn how to hip-hop dance.
I love it.
And so
we need some stuff like that again.
I know. So my brother used to go there, and I guess from my mom and dad's kind of affiliation in Christian music, my brother kind of got the chance to, I think, try out, at DC Dance Factory for this group when they were looking for the kids, and they got in. So
the rest is history.
Yeah, he went on to dance with DC Talk for years, for their entire pretty much career as a band.
Wow. And then a hype man for Toby. And he's been doing that for a long time too.
Yeah.
So what's that like, having a brother in the industry and
a mom and a dad.
And a dad in the industry?
It's wild. It's really fortunate. I think from my perspective, it seems so normal. And growing up, it seemed even more normal than it does now. Now I have a little bit more perspective on, how other people live and that it isn't the usual case. But I know growing up, to me, purpose came in really quick because by the time I could start making memories, it seemed like everybody was already doing things that were so important. So it definitely, I feel like it kind of gave me a leg up in that sense of, I think a lot of people may not look to what they should be doing for life until maybe college or somewhere in high school.
And even then, some people don't know what they still want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
For me, at a very young age, it was like, from the time I can remember, it was like, okay, so everybody's a big deal. What am I got to do something. I've got to figure something out. And me and Gabe would put on a lot of little fake plays with our friends, and
Oh man, we did
we
that
yeah, right.
too.
And sometimes my dad didn't live with us. My parents divorced when I was 3, but
Mhm.
my dad would leave us with some of his old gear. So I remember we had like a keytar that we would play around with at the house,
So
and
cool.
we started collecting instruments pretty early. I think I got my first guitar when I was 6. So we had little. I couldn't play it for crap at 6, but we would create little fake bands, and we would try real hard, and it was fun. It was fun growing up in that environment. A
Yeah,
lot of pressure at times, but it was a lot of fun.
that's cool. And so, yeah, you were, growing up in this musical family, and you were into music too. And then you started getting some new passions, right? Just for some different things.
I did. Making music is awesome, but it's tough, and it is so subjective. As you
It's
know,
tough.
Crystal, you've been
Yes.
making good music for a long time,
Thank you.
and it can be hard to connect with your audience. It
Hmm.
can be hard to find those people because music is so subjective. But the beautiful thing is that there are so many people in the world that you can
That's
find
right.
your pack if you look hard enough. I think some people have an
Yeah.
easier time than others. But
Hmm.
over time, I think the music, and we hear a lot of no's making music. When you're a
Right.
songwriter, you may hear no's from record labels or from artists saying, your song's not good enough. When you're an artist, you may hear no's from record labels
Hmm.
or from radio stations when you try to pitch your demo back in the day.
Right.
And as a producer, uh, we hear a lot of no's just as far as that's not the sound we're looking for, or that's not the sound that's in anymore. We gotta catch up, or
Right.
it's time for this. So uh, in the music industry,
Mhm.
it always felt like there was a no waiting around the corner, which
Yeah,
can just
looming over you.
yes,
Uh,
absolutely, which can feel like so much weight.
yeah.
And so for a while, I kind of got out of it because it felt like I was chasing a yes, and it's hard
Mm.
to do that with art. and
Yeah,
and you really
yeah.
shouldn't make art to chase
No.
acceptance or to chase a yes. And I think
No.
for
Do it
me,
because you love it,
it's
right?
because you love it. And I think for me personally, I think I started out because I loved it, but over
Hmm.
time,
Right.
because of so much rejection, then you start wanting to get well, can I ever just get the yes? Can I ever get the record deal?
Right.
Can I ever get the
Right.
song on the radio? Or can I ever
Hmm.
get the acceptance of the industry?
Right.
So after a while, I kind of slowed down on the music, and in that time, I had found fitness, and it's really kind of wild because at the time, I'd been in the music industry for a long time,
Hmm.
and mainly doing mainstream music. Even though my family was in Christian music, I had mainly been doing mainstream music at the time, and so I was kind of wrapped up in the mainstream world, and
Hmm.
loved to party and chase girls and really just have a good time.
Yep.
Um, but of course, after a while, you're trying to create. You're not making much
Hmm.
creating, but you're also trying to
Right.
have fun, but you don't have money to have the fun.
And maybe too much of a little bit of that, and
Right,
then yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And so at one point, it kind of felt like before I even kind of slowed down on any of that lifestyle, God kind of brought in fitness. He brought in a friend that at the time was just like, hey, man, there's a gym down the street. We should get a membership.
That's cool. It
And
just started like that.
it did. And at the time, I was like, no, this is silly. No, I'm not getting, I was probably 115 pounds until I was 27. So it was, that was the last place I needed to be.
Okay, I gotta just tell you,
Yeah.
like, there's a big difference going on here than when I met you all those years ago
Yeah,
in California.
absolutely.
So yeah, definitely you're doing something right with the fitness then.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. And I had met you at about 25. So it was only
Hmm.
a couple, maybe 2 or 3 years after I met you that this friend started nagging me about going to the gym.
Yeah.
And at the time, I said no and no and no. And eventually, I was like, you know what, Marcel, nothing else is really working out. So if you go to the gym, at least that'll be an hour a day that you're
Hmm.
going and you're doing something that will go in the right direction. You can't screw that up. You really can't.
No.
You can't screw up working out unless you injure yourself, which, you try to work out smart, eat
Hmm.
right. You can't screw that up. So, I knew if I could at least kind of dedicate to that one thing,
Yeah.
then maybe music wouldn't work out, and maybe music would keep going downhill, and maybe some other things in life would still kind of seem messy, but at least that one thing I would know,
Yeah.
like, okay, if I just keep doing this on a consistent basis, I'll
Hmm.
see good results. I may not see good results from the other things that I'm pouring my time into,
You'll see a yes.
but
Yes,
this, I'll see a
exactly. That
yes.
yes.
And it may, and I honestly didn't expect to gain the weight I gained. And, well, I guess I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but
Yeah.
about 6 months into that, I posted a picture on Facebook, a kind of a transformation picture before and after. And a friend of mine reached out and he was like, "Hey man, have you ever thought about competing?" And I was like, "Competing in what?"
And what?
He's like, "Bodybuilding." And I was like, "Are you kidding me? You know me. I'm kind of short, 5'7", 5'8". I'm 100. I've always been the smallest guy in the room. So it's like, come on, what are you talking about?
Bodybuilding? Yeah.
This guy's name was Tony, and he was like, "Dude, you have a good shape. I think you could do it." And at the
Hmm.
time, I'd been following bodybuilders just to get gym tips on like YouTube.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for someone to reach out and be like, you might be able to do that. What you think is impossible for you, I see in you. It was so that was kind of the first spark of like, oh, maybe I should take this more seriously. And at that point,
Hmm.
that kind of gave me the strength to quit partying and kind of look to this as like, okay, maybe if you take this more seriously, you know, cut the drinking out, eat
It's a
better.
lifestyle change,
It's a
right?
lifestyle change. It
Hmm.
really is. And that kind of gave me that spark to, well, maybe this could be a whole lifestyle change and not just you taking more discipline with yourself, but also seeing more reward out of yourself. And so that was a really defining moment. So at that point, I really made a lot of
Hmm.
changes, and it was like a flip kind of switched in my head. And I started kind of looking at the competitions and started doing started working out harder, ordering more protein,
Yeah.
and
I know. You can tell from your Instagram. You worked out hard. You got you were competing,
yeah,
like
yeah,
bodybuilding competing.
yeah,
Yeah.
and eventually I jumped in,
It's a different
and
level.
it is, and I jumped in and I won first in my first competition, which was kind of
Wow.
crazy, and then I went on to do another one and won third, and that got me to the national level, which the national level I didn't do nearly as good, but at that point my life had already changed and I had
Yeah.
already kind of come into a new routine. And
Hmm.
now at this point I don't compete anymore, but fitness is something that it's just changed my life. I used to, it's interesting when you wake up. I remember waking up with a hangover and walking to the bathroom in the mirror when I was younger, and
Oh, feeling
seeing the
horrible.
skinny me, and my eyes are bloodshot, and I look like a mess.
Oh,
And now, you wake up and you go to the mirror and you see yourself refreshed and you see yourself a little different than you even looked 6 months ago, for the better. And it's like, wow, like it's very motivating, just that
that
little
gives you
thing.
purpose right there because
It
it's a change
does.
in identity. Like you're looking at yourself like, I'm doing this, I'm
Yeah.
taking care of my body that
Yep.
God gave me.
That's right.
So I commend you for that
Thank
because it does
you.
take discipline
It does.
to
And
do those changes.
it really does. And I never thought it would be so rewarding. Like I said, at first it was just an hour a day where I knew I could do one thing that was right. And it ended up being life changing because now, um, I used to love to drink, but now a drink is going to hinder me from how I might do in the gym tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that reward from the gym is far greater
Mm.
than the 1 or 10 drinks I could go have.
Yeah.
So that's kind of crazy, just to feel a complete different perspective in my mind kind of
That's right.
switch.
And that could help a lot of people, what you just said right there, that are having a
Wow.
hard time putting
Yeah.
that bottle down.
Yeah,
And
it's a
it's
tough
tough.
thing to do.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do, but like finding something else that you can immerse yourself
That's
in
right.
that's healthy.
Yeah, and you can not only leave the bottle behind, but you can also create a healthy relationship with it if you can kind of reprogram your mind.
Yeah.
Because now,
Yeah.
if I do go out and I
Hmm.
have a glass of wine, I don't want
Yeah.
three,
Right.
because
Right.
then tomorrow I'm going to have a hangover. My workout's going to be crap. And
Yeah.
then, I'm going to have to drink twice as much water just to feel normal. I'm not
Right.
going to make the kind
Right.
of progress with work that I would make if I felt normal. And I've gotten so used to feeling good and making progress that it's really tough to take those little risks that might screw that up.
Yeah. So that's so cool. So it started like giving you this new purpose on how to build the life that you love.
Yeah.
You're starting out with health and you're feeling better and getting fit. Then
Yeah.
how did this filming and the whole industry with production
come
and
into
film come into
it.
play because I know
Yeah,
my
yeah,
husband and you are friends
yep, that's right.
and you guys have fun talking about all the production stuff
All the time.
all the time.
Well, so I had kind of, slowed down with the music and really kind of let it take a back seat, and tried to just do it for fun. The music, doing it professionally was taking too much of an ear beating. Let me just
Mhm.
make music in my spare time, just for me. That way, if I'm the only one listening to it, then no one else can critique it, and I'll never get that no anyway. And at that point, I hadn't really had much of a creative outlet outside of that, just little every once in a while, just toying around. So, meeting other people in the fitness industry and going to competitions, I got a sponsorship by a supplement brand that was making, pre workouts and creatine powders and stuff like that.
Nice.
And so for them, a buddy of mine had a camera and he was like, well, man, we should make some videos for the company that's sponsoring you. I got a camera. And that kind of kicked it all off. So it was like this
Yeah.
weird combination of God bringing in this one friend to say, man, let's go to the gym. No, let's go to the gym. No, let's go to the gym. And it was probably 3 months of this guy begging me about going to the gym. For me to finally say, okay. And then after that, we get to the gym, things are going well, I'm competing. And then another friend comes in and he's like, hey man, you ever mess with a camera? And I'm like, no, I hadn't really thought about it. And this friend, Joel, he still to this day pushes me to like
It's great.
make new stuff, to create harder. What are you doing with the camera this week that you didn't do
Yeah.
last week? Have you tried some 3D tracking and all this other stuff? And so it's really cool how God or life can just bring people into your life to kind of show you,
Mhm.
open those windows for you. And so through working with that one sponsor, other companies started coming out of the woodworks, and it wasn't long before
You created your own business called The
yeah,
Modern
the modern
Filmmaker,
filmmaker.
everybody.
And Lululemon had come after they were changing their location in Green Hills, and they were like, "Hey, we see you're doing fitness stuff in town. Will you come shoot for us? We're doing a new campaign called the Sweat Life or Sweet Life, and will
Yeah.
you come do that campaign with us locally in Tennessee?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." So I did a couple videos for them, and then Optimum Nutrition contacted me. It was a really big brand that I always looked up to, and another
Yeah.
brand called Steel Fit, and it's kind of just snowballed from there. And it all started from me kind of following progress. I was
Right.
seeing progress in the gym.
Hmm.
I'd gotten sponsors from competing. My camera buddies like, hey, let's mess with these cameras and let's make some videos for the sponsors. And then, you start seeing progress there because now the sponsors are getting more sales and they're happy with the branding and the awareness that you're providing.
Yeah.
And then to see other brands come in that I had looked up to for years. I mean, Steve Cook is a pretty popular name in the fitness industry, and he was with Optimum for years. And I remember in my first days, like looking up push-up videos of Steve Cook, who was sponsored by Optimum, and now,
Yes.
now I've made videos with them and some of their athletes here in town. And it's been really, really cool.
See, and that's what's so like you're following your heart and your passions, and then it's just coming to you.
Yeah,
Like these opportunities and these relationships
yeah,
and I mean you didn't search for it. It just happened because you started something and it's all about wellness and doing something with your life
yeah.
that's
And that
good.
progress.
Yeah. And it all
Yeah.
came back around.
And something about creatives too is one of the most important things for us is just not to give up. I know it
That's
can be
good.
so easy at times when you've been painting since you were in middle school and you still haven't maybe sold one for the price that you want to, or you and your friends have been making short films since high school and it
Yeah.
hasn't quite gotten anywhere.
Mhm.
It's one of those things as an artist, that you have to keep on refining your creativity. You have to keep building yourself as a creative, as an artist.
Yes.
It's an ongoing thing that you keep. It's like an ongoing sculpture that you're slowly chiseling at over time and over time, and eventually we've talked about it. For
Mhm.
every creative, you need your creative creations to meet the market at a certain place,
Right.
and usually when that can happen, you see a boom. But that takes refining yourself and refining your skills and not giving up.
Yeah.
And I could have given up on music and creativity in general, but I was like, you know what?
Right.
Let me not give up. Let me just do it for myself. Let me keep creating, but let
Right.
me just do it. Let me not put it out there. Let me just keep on churning at it. And I
And
think
I know that's going to come back around because
hopefully,
I know you're gonna release some amazing music.
Maybe one day.
Maybe one day again.
Yeah, I just know
Because
when the video came in, it helped that I hadn't stopped making music.
right,
Because
right,
it's a lot of
right.
this. You got to keep that creative flow going
Because
in your
creatives
mind.
need to be creative. You told me that.
That's
That's from
right.
you. That's your quote. So this change, what was the catalyst that brought on this main change? I heard that you went to something called Onsite. Like, what was that like? And when did that happen in this whole process of getting fit and doing the filming?
Yeah. Onsite was a more recent discovery earlier this year, and it showed me a lot about who I am, and I think one thing, a few things that I know that I forgot is who I was as a child and what I really loved in the
Mm.
beginning. And I remember there was a time I went on a missions trip to Denmark and Sweden and Germany and London. We went to all these countries on this missions trip. And I remember when we were in Denmark, I was like, this is so cool. The architecture here is amazing. And I remember on that trip, I was doing a lot of drawing and a lot of, I just loved the architecture and the geometry and
Yeah.
everything about it. And I came back and I was like, Mom, I want to go out to Denmark, maybe go to college out there one day. And at the time, I think I was 15. So by the time I was like, 15 and a half, I totally forgot about that whole dream. Um, but at Onsite, we did a lot of experiential, what they call experiential
And what is
therapy.
Onsite for people who don't know what it is?
Onsite, it's tough to explain, but it's it's kind of like a group that has workshops. They have a
Mm-hmm.
facility
Yeah.
kind of out in the middle of nowhere, probably about an hour north of Nashville.
Okay.
And they have a facility where they'll put on therapy workshops. They also have a rehabilitation center there
Yeah.
for rehabilitation needs as far
Mm-hmm.
as substance goes.
Yep.
But that's in a completely different kind of facility that's still on the same property.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly they put on these workshops that are different. They even have equestrian therapy, which is with horses,
Wow.
where you can go out there. And I'm not sure what they do with the horses, but
Right.
from what I've heard, it's very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And just the stories, the small stories I heard, I did not expect. Um, but Onsite itself it's hard to explain. But what I was a part of was the Living Centered program,
Mm-hmm.
and where they did experiential therapy. There was about 65 people that all attended this one 6-day workshop,
Okay.
where you go and you give up your phone and they put you in a cabin
Do you
with
hear that, people?
okay
Like that's you have to give up your phone. That's
that
for 6 days.
yeah 6 days.
Yeah.
That in itself was anxiety heightening for sure.
Right.
But they put you in a cabin with a couple of roommates.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, there were 65 people in the workshop that I went to. But then in that 65, they break you down into smaller, I think it's groups of 8. And where you go through your therapy with a therapist, but with the group. And I think that's the big part of it. And I'm cautious not to explain too much because I know I have a tendency to when somebody tells me, hey, I think there's this thing that'll work for you, and they try to describe it to me, I I try to kind of lock it in with who I think I am, and I'm like, no, I can picture myself going through that and picture what I might think and how I might feel, and you know what, that won't work for me. And as a
Right.
matter of fact, when we started the therapy at Onsite, there was a couple days of getting acclimated and kind of learning and kind of warming yourself up to what was about to happen. But the first day of therapy, another guy had rose his hand and volunteered to go first. And when he was going through the process, I was watching him thinking, "Oh no, this isn't gonna work for me. I just wasted a lot of money, and I wasted a bunch of time, and I can't believe this totally isn't gonna work. I know
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
This isn't gonna work." And let me just say, I because I was either in two places. I was like, I'm either gonna leave or I'm gonna go next. So I volunteered to go next, and within 15 minutes, I knew like, oh, okay, this works for everybody.
Wow.
And it's so that's why I'm kind of cautious in describing word for word what happens there.
Yeah. You don't have to,
But
but
I will say,
yeah.
through the experiential therapy, what you do get is kind of other people's experience. Experience does things that nothing else can do.
I agree. Yeah.
And I often correlate this to confidence. Confidence is something that if you don't have it, it takes time and experience to gain that confidence. It takes putting yourself in awkward positions where you can kind of face that confidence and fight it.
Right.
But if you're lacking confidence, there's definitely not something someone can tell you or
be more confident.
There's not a thing that can happen that's just going to flip that switch in your head. It takes experience and it takes time. And at Onsite, by going through therapy together and watching other people's experience and watching other people's fears, other people's struggles, other people's challenges, it's like you kind of got to gain their experience. So it honestly felt like when I came back after those 6 days, like I had been gone for 3 years, and that I'd come back with a better reassurance of who I am, what I want. I came back saying no to everything when I felt like I was so much more of a yes man before. Like I just wanted to make people happy before.
People pleasing.
And I had my own goals, but if somebody came along with their goals, I was more than willing to push mine to the side to like, okay, well, let me fuel your train and empty mine out, to fuel yours. And when I came back, I just felt like I had more purpose and more passion.
Empowered too.
And power. Yeah, definitely power and strength. It was a great place I dropped a lot of stuff off. And so it feels like my heart and my mind were not only stronger, but they're ready to absorb new things. And ever since I've got back, it's definitely been like a freight train.
That is really cool. That's so cool that you could share that too, because this show is that too. Yeah. You're sharing your story and you're sharing this information right here that could help somebody, you know?
Such a big deal.
Such a big deal. So you grew up thinking a lot of your life that you had to be perfect, right?
Yeah.
Like I struggled with that a little bit growing up too in my life. Just the pressures of, feeling like you had to do everything perfect and always,
It is tough. It's tough. I talked to my mom about this not long ago, just as I get older and I think about kids and if I'll ever have them and how I would raise them, trying to guess at life, which never works, but we all try to do it. I was telling her that, just growing up in a religious family, it can seem, I don't want to put this wrong, but it can seem, just from a young age, being told, you can't do X, Y, Z, there's a fiery pit of hell that you might burn in, and blah, blah. I don't know this because I haven't grown up outside of a spiritual family. Also, I only have one life that I can speak on.
Right.
But from my experience, I know there's been times where it felt like, oh no, what if I screw up? A little more pressure. And I would look at my other friends playing outside and I'd wonder like, they don't even care. Teddy just said a curse word and he doesn't even care. Like his mom doesn't care and he can get away with anything. And you wonder like, is that better or is it worse? Or I just know sometimes in that religious kind of upbringing, it can feel like a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure, yeah.
I feel like the outline to me, the Bible is just like an outline of, hey, the Bible's not trying to tell you what to do. It's really just a guideline. And it's really just here to say, hey, I've got some experience and some advice. And if you follow this advice, you'll have a smoother life.
Yeah.
And
but I can understand what you're saying because like if something happens bad, then you feel like you can't share that.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to be
good.
Good, right?
What if
and this shouldn't have happened to me, It shouldn't have happened. I shouldn't have made that choice or whatever. But I mean we all can fall and have things happen to us and things that aren't good. But and that's hard. So anybody listening, if you're holding on to things and you haven't told anybody, just to really try to find someone you trust, even if it isn't your parents or somebody, but you have to find someone.
Absolutely.
You can't bottle that up and keep it.
Yes. Because what happens too when we bottle it up is the shame.
Condemnation.
I can't believe that happened. And it's so funny. I realized at Onsite, not just at Onsite, but several times in my life, I've realized that, or I've been triggered by things I'm holding on to from years ago, whether it's someone that may have betrayed me at one point in time, or maybe something I did. Maybe I feel like I betrayed someone else and I'm still kind of beating myself up for that. I'm not saying that your actions don't have repercussions and aren't important.
Sure.
Because A lot of people will always tell you, well, that's in your past. And it's like, well, but your past is who you are too. And it's always good to recognize your past, but you do have to recognize who it's made you
That's
and
good.
be strong in that because
Yes.
I used to, I think I told you earlier today, I used to long for my 20s, but now it's like I'm rearing up for my 40s. I'm excited about the man I'm going to be at 40 years old.
Because you're chasing purpose, not the party. You
That's
told me
right.
that. I remembered that. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's so cool though to feel like you're living the life that that you're creating your life how God would want it to be because he wants us to live our passions and our purpose.
That's right.
That's why he created each and every one of us.
That's right. We all have a purpose,
Yeah.
and that seems to be such a hard thing for so many people to find.
What if they don't know their purpose and they're like, I don't even know what I'm good at? Like, what advice would you give right now? Yeah.
I feel for those people. My heart is very very soft to those situations.
Yeah.
'Cause I've seen it so much,
Yeah.
and I feel like I've avoided so much struggle just because I've always felt a purpose, and even if I've had to deal with failure because I've always known I'm a creative, and that comes with trial and error, which in turn kind of feels like failure sometimes. But it can be really tough when you don't know why you're here or if you're here for a reason. And I can assure everyone that they're all here for a reason.
Yes.
They all have a strong purpose. And when it comes to finding it, I would say think about, what did you used to love? What are the things that you loved as a kid? If there's nothing that as an adult you've been able to cling to, broaden your mind. Because one thing that I had to realize back to growing up kind of feeling like I had to be perfect is I thought, I had to be like my mom, and my story would be like my mom. She's a hard worker. She's obedient. She makes great connections with people. She makes great relationships, and people look to her and they rely on her. And so I wanted to be someone like that.
Because she's amazing.
She's amazing, right?
Right.
And my brother, he's a lot the same way. He's a very obedient man who's made some great decisions, and he's helped a lot of people and done some amazing things in his life. And I aspire to be like that, and I want to have stories similar to theirs. But unfortunately, my story isn't their story, and I can't just follow what they've done and expect that to work for me.
But that's a good thing because we're all meant to have different stories.
Exactly.
And you're your own unique story.
That's right. And I think that a lot of people get hung up on that as adults because by the time we grow up, we've seen, what we think works. Stephen went off to, University of Colorado and got a degree in engineering, and now he's got the, the retirement and the dental and health insurance, he's got it made. And, we kind of look at this person or look at that person and think, okay, we have to fit into one of these boxes.
Right.
But that's not true. We are all born to create our own box. We're all born to create our own lane.
That's right.
And to help people in our own way and to kind of expand and push society forward in our own way. And so it's so important that if you're looking for your purpose, to try to step outside maybe what your friends are doing or maybe what your family's doing. If you've tried those things and they haven't worked,
right?
Maybe just go try something random. Maybe just go out on your own and go try something new.
Say yes to a workout or something.
That's right. And this is odd.
Look what happened.
We're kind of jumping to this now, but I feel like it's important to talk on. I have a YouTube channel, The Modern Filmmaker, where I teach color grading primarily in DaVinci Resolve, and also just how to edit and produce video on the software, on the post-production side. And for the longest time, for the first year of my channel, which is only about a year and 4 or 5 months old, but for the first year of my channel, there was no one in real life that I could talk to about this program. Literally, I didn't know anyone who I could talk to about DaVinci Resolve, which kind of says, I say that to say, I had to look outside my friend group. I had to look outside my family to find my own lane. And the YouTube channel is working out very well. I'm getting a great response.
Have a lot of viewers on there.
Really? Yeah.
People saying a lot of great stuff about you.
Thank you. But it took me kind of looking for my own way And I found this program that I ended up loved. I loved working in, and I kind of felt my own call to teach others how to work in it. And if I would have just been looking to my friends and my family, I would have never found this program. I had to go out of the box and had to find a new thing.
And now you're helping people. That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah. And it's crazy to watch, to get to see the comments of people saying, hey, I just tried out this trick, that maybe a tutorial showing off, or hey, I'm building my business and I'm using your techniques, and whatever it may be.
I love it.
Really cool, really cool. Very inspiring just for me.
Yeah, and you're going. Inspiring others, and it's just a trickle effect.
It is.
It keeps happening.
It's so crazy.
I love it. We love getting together with you because you are inspiring.
Thank you.
And just our talk back and forth, we encourage each other.
Oh, yeah.
And I love that about you because you're that kind of person.
Yeah.
But
I love it.
Well, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I mean, the life that you're living, and everyone listening, you can do it too.
Yeah.
You can find that thing. Go after your dreams. Build the life you love.
Yeah.
And God is with you. Like, he can speak to you too. If you just reach out to him and ask like what is it that I should be doing? And, he's going to lead you, but then you also have to look for new things. Like you said, go out there and say yes to certain things and try different things that you've never done before.
Yeah. Just give it a shot, and you will be amazed at what happens, especially if you know that you're moving in the right direction.
Right.
Like I said, the gym was something I never, ever thought would be me. And I told the guy no for forever, and now I couldn't imagine my life without it.
It's crazy, the transformation. I saw it firsthand, everybody. So how can people find you find the Modern Filmmaker?
Yeah. At the Modern Filmmaker on Facebook, at the Modern Filmmaker on Instagram, at the Modern Filmmaker on YouTube, and Marcel Patillo on everything also.
On everything else.
Thank you, Crystal.
Yes, thank you for being with us.
Anytime.
All right.